And we welcome you to This is Overtime here on OSN. It is Lever Sage with you. Nobody else except for all Senator fans feeling very, very good after a great 6-3 victory for the Ottawa Senators in a fantastic game. This one very, very entertaining compared to the game yesterday that they lost 4-1 to the Minnesota Wild. And your Ottawa Senators are in a playoff spot with 90 points. The Ottawa Senators now in the second wildcard spot as they have gone over the New York Islanders. The Philadelphia Flyers also won today, and they are up to third in the Metro. And Ottawa now with a real chance here after 3 games in 4 days. They got a little bit of rest. They play Tuesday and Thursday at home before they go on the road Saturday and Sunday. And maybe, just maybe, a game against the New York Islanders that might decide a playoff spot. But right now, feeling good and coming off the heels of just an electric performance by this team. Down 1-0 early after giving up a power play goal, and it did not affect them at all. In fact, it looked like it got them going. And Dylan Cousins scoring on the power play to tie the game. Tim Stützle with an assist, his 46th of the year, and then the goal of the night, one of the goals of the year for the Ottawa Senators, is Tim Stützle picks the puck up just inside his own blue line and goes through 2 Carolina Hurricanes, stops on a dime and kind of one-hands his stick past Freddie Anderson. Just an unbelievable goal, and I think that was the one that really, with a good crowd there, with a 5:00 game and a crowd that was able to, give the Ottawa Senators, I think, some energy that absolutely stayed after the Tim Stützle goal for the rest of the hockey game. Yeah, they give up a goal. Andrei Svechnikov does score late in the first period, and it's 2-2, but you kind of felt like Ottawa at that point was like, you know what, we can handle these guys. They outshot Carolina in that period. They deserved to have the lead, and then they came out and I thought played a real good second period. Brady Tkachuk scores in the second period. The tip from Artem Zub. I just got back for that goal because I was watching the last 5 minutes of Boston, Philadelphia, and then into overtime. A wild, wild last few minutes and overtime. And how about Porter Mortone? His first ever goal is an overtime winner to put the Philadelphia Flyers back into a playoff spot. Porter Martone. Amazing. But then, I get back and Tkachuk tips it and it's 3-2 and there's lots of energy. But how about on the power play again? Late, didn't look like anything was happening, but Fabian Zetterlund comes out of the corner and finds Shane Pinto for his 21st of the year. The Ottawa Senators go 2 for 2 on the power play. And at that point, kind of felt like it was over. Ridley Gregg, amazing down the side. Tkachuk gets a rebound. Freddie Anderson, not a very good rebound on that play. But this was a game that Ottawa was full marks. Like, they beat Carolina. And yes, Carolina had a little bit of a tough go last night with some travel and getting in and playing a 5:00 game. But man, oh man, Ottawa deserved this one. And you look at the stats, they really back it up. They outshot Carolina. They were almost 61% in the faceoff dot. They go a perfect 2 for 2 on the power play. They blocked 22 Carolina Hurricane shots. They were able to take the puck away 5 times to Carolina's 3. And when you look at some of the ice time again, it was Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub. What a game by Zub. Zub really stuck out in a good way. A little bit at the offensive end, but the defensive end as well. He broke up the 2-on-1 and almost got into the play and scored. But there was just an energy about the team. And that would, if I'm Carolina, that would scare me a little bit. Like I said on the pregame show that I wouldn't want to play the Boston Bruins, and I don't think I would, but I think I could probably say Carolina after this one. They don't love their matchup against the Ottawa Senators. Linus Ullmark playing in back-to-back games, I thought was good in this game. Made some big saves when he had to. But the way that Ottawa played, they kind of rendered their goalie, I won't say insignificant, but he was just part of the team. He didn't have to be the best player against one of the best teams in the Carolina Hurricanes. And look, Minnesota's a good team too, but the fact that Ottawa beat Buffalo and Carolina at home, I think serves them very, very well. Want to hear from you in the chat. People must be pumped up about being back in the playoffs. 90 points and Ottawa with 5 games left. They could possibly get to 100. How many do you think they'll need to get there? And they do have a game against the Islanders coming up, who, again, if you missed it, fired Patrick Waugh, hired Pete DeBoer, and they don't play again until Thursday. They play the Leafs on Thursday and then Ottawa on Saturday. And I said that the Islanders were not going to be in a playoff spot by the time Thursday rolled around. Well, they're not in a playoff spot on Sunday night, and they don't play until Thursday now, as both Philadelphia and Ottawa jump over them here today. Z Gibbon is in. Boy, that Stützle goal was something. It's not only the skill of it, but it's the timing of it. It's 1-1. It's really raising the energy of the crowd. You could tell that he was pumped up. You could tell his teammates were pumped up. Zach also saying loud Brady chants for Tkachuk during his post-game interview. Okay, that's interesting. I thought Brady played well today. He's kind of been missing in action a little bit. Actually, a lot bit. But you look at his line today, 2 goals, a +2, played 15-35, had 5 shots on goal, and for the first time in a very long time, had more than 1 or 2 hits. He had 5 hits and was 8 for 11 in the faceoff dot. Like, Brady Tkachuk was noticeable today. Brady Tkachuk was going to the net. He goes to the net on the tip. Yeah, he gets the Ridley Gregg goal. Ridley Gregg did all the work, but you could see that Tkachuk was kind of pointing back to Ridley Gregg, like he did all the work. He's the guy. I shouldn't be in front of the line. Not a catastrophic loss for the Carolina Hurricanes, but they're looking to kind of cement their place on top of the standings and unable to do it here today. And now the Ottawa Senators, like I said, 90 points, back in the playoffs with 5 games to go. And the teams that they're chasing all have kind of the same amount of games played or more. I guess the only team that has more is the Islanders. But boy, Detroit falling. They lose again 5-4. They come back from 4-1. They tie it up at 4 in the third period, and Patrick Kane takes an unbelievably bad penalty. Kaprizov scores on the power play for the Wild, and Detroit loses again. The Columbus Blue Jackets have lost 6 games in a row, and Ottawa doing exactly what they have to do. So they're in full control now of a playoff spot. They don't need to worry about what other teams are doing. The only way Ottawa is not going to make the playoffs is if they fall down. Not an easy schedule. They got Tampa coming, and we know what Florida did to them last week. But they're at home. And, you know, they said on the broadcast, and I'll reiterate it, the Ottawa Senators have not lost back-to-back games at home since the beginning of January, which is very, very impressive. They play like they did tonight, they're going to be a tough team to beat. because they don't have a great defense core. We talked about that on the pregame show as well, and everybody knows it. Like, they got out on that one shift where kind of the fourth line and Cameron Crotty and Lassie Thompson were out for almost 2 minutes, and then they scored. But again, I'm just so impressed. Honestly, other than that shift, I really didn't notice Cameron Crotty. And for him to play another 16 minutes in this game, I thought he was really good. I know the Marlboro man who was at the game texted me about doesn't think Jordan Spence has been fantastic in the last couple games. I would agree, but at the same time, boys, he played a lot of hockey. And Jordan Spence was never, ever the guy that was going to be playing, 25 minutes a night, even more than that at some points. But if they can get back and get some semblance of their defense core back, and hopefully Spence doesn't have to play that much, he's still a really good player. But you can see it's wearing on some of those guys. Z Gibbon, and again, to your point about the Hurricanes, thinking about the Sens, Taylor Hall quoted saying that's a team playing playoff hockey. How about goal number 300 in the career of Taylor Hall, the former MVP? 300 goals is nothing to sneeze at for sure. It's a lot of goals. But you could feel it. Like this, it felt like a playoff game. It felt like the "we want playoff" chant, the energy from the crowd, but it was matched by the team who was coming off a back-to-back. Yes, I know Carolina was, but this is Ottawa's third game in 4 days without a lot of their defense core. And boy, did they need Jake Sanderson back. And he was a guy I think, Zach, you and I focused on to be able, can he go back to back? Does he look more limited today because he played yesterday and he hasn't played and the injury? I didn't think so at all. I thought he looked real good and getting back just in time. And if they held him for another few days to make sure, absolutely the right move. But this was a game led by the people that should be leading the Ottawa Senators. If they're going to win and they're going to be there when it counts, of course, Jake Sanderson's got to play really well. He did. Linus Ullmark's got to play well. He did. Up front, Tim Stützle. Unbelievable goal. Check mark. Brady Tkachuk. Check mark. Shane Pinto. Real good tonight. Check. Drake Batherson with an assist. A lot of guys on the board today, but all of their top players to me look good. And it's just an impressive performance to be able to come out and have that sort of energy, even when Carolina got the first goal. Did Senator fans' hearts sink a little bit? Like, oh boy, here we go. I can tell you the players did not look like that whatsoever. And you start to look at the teams, and this can change, but you start to look at the teams that are involved in this race. The Philadelphia Flyers have been playing very good hockey for a long time. They're back up in a playoff spot. The Senators have been playing very good hockey for a long time. They're in a playoff spot. The Islanders, they're playing so poorly as of late. They've lost 4 in a row. They fired their coach with 4 games to go. The Red Wings. Oh, the Red Wings just falling off of a cliff. I know they've lost their last 2 in a row, but you go back and look at the last, like they've lost 4 of 5. They've lost 6 of 8. And you go all the way back to the beginning of March the 4th. The Red Wings only have 5 wins. And they are doing what they always do and that is fall down as the season gets close and the games get tighter and they mean more and the Red Wings start to fall. So I think the questions you have to ask yourself if you're a Senators fan about the teams that might be able to get up and catch you. So are the Islanders going to get a bump with Pete DeBoer and some time off? They don't play till Thursday. They make the change today. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before they have to go into action against a Maple Leaf team that, quite frankly, uh, I mean, from the management point of view, they want to lose. They're not that far from the bottom five. Right now, they are 3 points ahead of the bottom five. They could stand to lose. And it's hard to believe that the Leafs would go in and beat the Islanders after 5 days off and a new coach after Patrick Roy gets fired. It would be hard to believe. But then for the Islanders, more than the Sens, the Islanders season might be on the line against the Ottawa Senators next Saturday afternoon. But Ottawa's got Tampa and Florida this week at home. But I look at these teams right now and I say, Detroit, I don't know that they're going to be able to get their mojo back. The Islanders, they might be able to get a little bit of mojo, but do they have enough racetrack in front of them with only 4 games to go? At 89 points, they can only get to 97 even if they win all of them. I think they're going to have to get to 97 to make the playoffs. And even then, like the Islanders, I don't think now, with the way that things happen today, I don't think they can lose another game. And you look at the schedule coming up, not a lot of games tomorrow that would affect the Eastern Conference as far as the playoff race is concerned. Tampa at Buffalo is a big one at the top of the standings for positioning. Winnipeg desperately needs a win, but it's Tuesday that you get to, and Wednesday too, because I don't know that you can count Washington out. Washington doesn't play again until Wednesday, but it's Tuesday. The Columbus Blue Jackets are at Detroit to face the Red Wings. It's just a massive, massive game for both teams. And is the loser out? I don't know. I look at the schedule now and go, Columbus and Detroit both at 77 games played. They both have 5 games to go, and they both have 88 points. If somebody loses that game in regulation with 4 games left and having to try to catch, and the other team will get 2 points and the other team will be at 90, they'll have at least 4 teams ahead of them for maybe, for Columbus for 2 spots, the Red Wings for 1 spot. So that is just an incredibly big game coming up on Tuesday. And I don't know who's going to win that one because both of them are not playing very well at all. Philadelphia is in New Jersey. Devils are playing better. And then Ottawa's got to take care of business at home against Tampa. But they do get Tampa with all of their energy into Buffalo the night before. So again, does the schedule favor Ottawa? Looks like it does to me. Tampa's not only playing a back-to-back, but a much more meaningful game against the Buffalo Sabres. And do they get the backup goalie for Tampa on Tuesday? I would bet they do. So they just got to take care of business. If they can win their games, they got 5 games left. They go 4-1, they're absolutely in. If they go 3-2 and one of those wins is against the Islanders in regulation, I also think they're in. So can they muster up enough here to get to 96 or possibly, if they get to 98, I think they're going to get in. this team has been just the ability to bounce back through all of the adversity that they have faced this year. Every time you think they're down and out, they kind of find a way. You go through the goals tonight. Dylan Cousins, 27th of the year. The amount of times he scores on the power play, I believe it was his 14th power play goal of the year. 27 on the year from Stützle and Batherson. Then that Stützle incredible goal, 33rd of the year unassisted. You'll see it on the highlights everywhere. Brady Tkachuk gets the 21 from Zubin Ridley Gregg. Pinto also gets the 21. And then Tkachuk is 22nd of the year late. And then Claude Giroux gets an empty net goal from Pinto and Sanderson. Taylor Hall scored late, was kind of meaningless at that point, 5-2. It made it 5-3 pretty late in the game. I was just looking at the time, 2:30 to go in the game. But it's amazing to me how your energy can just change after yesterday's game and now today's game. I think you got to feel a lot better about their chances. The scoreboard, while it wasn't going very well for them for a couple weeks, really, it has been nothing but helpful over the last week. Everything they could have asked for over the last week. I know, Z Gibbon, you were talking about seeing Brady Tkachuk on Friday night out at Giovanni's and some of the Minnesota Wild boys. I ran into Cyril Leader today from the Ottawa Senators, and then all of a sudden I see Cyril Leader pop up on the intermission with Claire Hanna today. But I had a nice conversation with Cyril Leader earlier today. Quick one, but it was nice to see him again. And I'm going to say that for Cyril Leader getting on the broadcast and sort of expanding on a few things, he took all of his points from me. No, he did not do that. But. So once again, to reset, the Carolina Hurricanes, they stay at 104 points. So the one thing that game, both of those games coming up for Tampa tomorrow and Tuesday, is that they could get to the Carolina Hurricanes for first overall, and beating the Buffalo Sabres would put some distance between them and Buffalo. Probably gets them away from the Buffalo Sabres, but does it get them away from the winners of 8 in a row, the Montreal Canadiens? I don't know that it does. So they will have something to play for, but a lot of their focus is going to go into that game in Buffalo tomorrow. While Ottawa gets to kind of sit back and wait for them to come in, probably with that backup goaltender. So just kind of looking at the scores, the Devils leading the Montreal Canadiens right now, 1-0, about 5 minutes into the second period. And also, I said Washington didn't play till Wednesday, but they're in action right now. And they're 1-1 in New York against the Rangers a couple of minutes into the second period. So if the Washington Capitals win, right now they're at 77 games played, so 5 games left, same as Ottawa, but they're playing right now. But if they win, they're going to get to 89 points and be in a dead heat with the New York Islanders with 78 games played and 89 points, and they will get ahead of both Detroit and Columbus if they're able to win that game in New York against the Rangers. So I don't know that the Capitals are dead yet. 5 games to go. If they run the table, they're going to get to 97. And I think 97 is going to get a team into the playoffs. Looking at the Washington schedule, they got the Rangers tonight. Then they got Toronto, very winnable. And then they got Pittsburgh back-to-back. And the one thing that's happened to Pittsburgh here is they've played so well that they've kind of They got 96 points. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're not going to catch Carolina. They're probably not going to be caught by anybody, whether it's Philadelphia or Washington or anyone else. So they're looking like they're going to be home and cooled into a playoff spot starting at home as that 2-3 in the Metropolitan Division for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So for Washington, in must-wins, Pittsburgh won't be in must-wins at all. So maybe, just maybe. And then Washington, Columbus, you would hope for the Capitals and the Blue Jackets that that's a meaningful game, the last game of the year. But will one of those teams not be in the position to be able to make it? That's the question. Really intriguing. Crazy that it's Sunday night here and we're about 11 days away from the end of the regular season and teams still have, 5, some have 6 games to go. Tampa does. Starting tomorrow, Montreal, they have 6, but they're in action right now. So, and the Rangers have just scored. JT Miller has just scored to give the Rangers a 2-1 lead over the Capitals. So, Rangers playing spoiler a little bit for some of the other teams, but right now, all of the teams behind Ottawa don't really matter as much if the Ottawa Senators can just win. We haven't been able to say this in quite a while, but the Ottawa Senators are now just in a position where they don't really need to worry about anything else. Just go out and win your games. They go 4-1 the rest of the way. They're in. 98 points will absolutely get them into the playoffs. So they might only have to go 3-2. But they need to just take care of business. And if they are able to do that and get a couple of home wins where they've been very good at home, now 20, 12, and 6 on the year at home, which is honestly really impressive with the way that they have played, especially at the beginning of the year. The fact that that's 38 games that they've had at home, and they have 46 points in those games. So they've been good at home this year. They take advantage. They're able to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're able to beat the Florida Panthers and get to 94. They got a real good shot. They're getting into that territory where they don't need to really be worried about anyone else, and they don't need to be scoreboard watching as much. The scoreboard watching will come in if the Ottawa Senators are unable to win games. But I don't think that that's going to happen. It just feels like that Tampa game, all their energy is going to go into the Buffalo game tomorrow. And if Ottawa's able to beat Tampa, then they got Florida coming in. And yeah, Florida beat them up, but I mean, come on. Florida won't have much to play for here coming to Ottawa. So this could be kind of the game that propels the Ottawa Senators into the playoffs. Kind of feel like it is. There's a different aura now. It feels different. Not only are they sitting in that wild card spot, but they're way more in control of their own destiny and don't need to worry about other teams and what they're doing if they are just able to win games. So 3 of the last 5 for the Ottawa Senators at home. The 2 road games in New Jersey and on Long Island coming up. Long Island on Saturday, New Jersey on Sunday. But a win in New York against the Islanders next Saturday just goes a long way. I have a feeling that they win that game and just put a couple of wins together around that game that they're going to be able to get in. And nobody wants the Ottawa Senators to come back to the last game of the season at home and having to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs to get in. It would be really nice if Ottawa, they've played so well, so many injuries. It'd be really nice for them to get into the playoffs next weekend and then have at least a week to kind of prepare for playoff hockey. But it's exciting. They've come all the way back. Didn't look like it at one point. I believe 8 points out of a playoff spot, having to jump over 6 or 7 teams, and they've been able to do it. 34 wins in regulation are more than everybody in the Eastern Conference except for the Hurricanes, the Lightning, and the Sabres. They even have more regulation wins than the Montreal Canadiens do, and they have 10 less points. That's pretty wild, actually. So, for the Ottawa Senators, mission accomplished. They got through the weekend, and they get a couple of points. Other teams around them lose and lose some more and lose some more. And every time I go back and check, it's more good news. The Rangers now up 3-1 against the Washington Capitals, 7 minutes into the second period. The Devils continue to lead. The Montreal Canadiens 1-0. But boy, if the Capitals lose this one, tough to believe that they're gonna be able to get there. The Rangers are just putting some teams out of their misery. So good on the Rangers for still playing hard, but boy, this one really hurts for the Washington Capitals. They absolutely have to have this one. Oh, look who's here. The guy who said that he felt really good about the Ottawa Senators today. I didn't know, PJ Northgore. Thought they played great. Let's keep it going. PJ, you were right. You had a good feeling? I believe, PJ, you were at the game. The energy in the crowd. Amazing. The red face emoji crying. Laughter. Anger. Everything involved in that. But PJ said he had a good feeling, and I don't know that I did. But to see the Stützle goal live, that would have been special. That would have been real good. Because you just don't get to see players that have the speed that he does. Oh, PJ says, no, I wasn't, unfortunately, but I was there yesterday. Okay. I apologize, PJ. I knew you were at one of those games. But you got the raw end of the deal. But you got to watch a really good game on television then. Because the Senators, that Stützle goal was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the type of goal and the type of player that is a game breaker that Ottawa needs when they get to the playoffs. Not too many teams have a guy like him. And for him to be able to do that, awesome. If you didn't hear before, the Red Wings lost 5-4 today. They continue to lose in regulation. Kaprizov had a hat trick. He continues to be amazing. But it's all good. All good for the Ottawa Senators. So appreciate the fact people tuning in. And for Ottawa, they're in a playoff spot and they're feeling good. Feeling really, really good about themselves. They should. They got 90 points. They got 5 games left. They got 3 of them at home where they play very, very well. And the teams around them now are starting to fall down. The New York Islanders are falling down so much they fired their coach. Do they get a new coach bump with Pete DeBoer? Maybe, but they only got 4 games to go. And they sit at 89 points. Washington Capitals are losing 3-1 to the New York Rangers. They're at 87. Detroit can't get off 88. Columbus cannot win a hockey game. And those teams don't look anything like the Ottawa Senators right now. Even with a depleted defense core, they don't look anything like them. The Senators, much more energy, explosiveness, and ability to take it to teams When you watch Carolina play, they usually smother opponents. They did not smother the Ottawa Senators. The Marlboro Man's in. This team does not give up. Pesky Sens reincarnated. Yeah, look, they're not pesky. Pesky means a team that's kind of under-talented, that is over exceeding expectations. This team's a good team. Yes, they're depleted on their defense core, but like I said earlier, all of these mainstay players, Kachuk, Stützle, Sanderson, Pinto, Zub, Ullmark, those are the guys that have to be good because they're the best players. They all played well today. All of them. Wasn't one of those guys that had a bad game. Marlboro Man says you need a new hat. Well, okay. How about this one, Marlboro Man? I would wear this one for luck. Before. It used to be the lucky hat when the Ottawa Senators needed a win. Is that better? Marlboro Man saying that, but look, I live in Ashton. I also like the Marlboro pub. So yeah, I guess I need a new hat. Attaboy. Thanks, PJ. Appreciate it. But no, I love the Ashton pub. I like the Marlboro pub. I like a lot of pubs. In fact, right now, I got a Cartwright Springs brewery. Quite good. Creme caramel. They use natural spring water in their beer. And one of the only breweries that do. Marlboro Man says, we love Quinn and the boys. Yeah, they're good people. Very, very good people. But in saying that, they are not the only brewery. And I like to go around. I like to test things. You would probably know this, Marlboro Man, but I don't know if there's a brewery within a 2-hour radius. Maybe if you went directly north into Quebec for 2 hours, but with sort of Ottawa, the Valley, down Highway 7, Kingston, I don't think there's one I haven't been to. In fact, I stopped in on Friday just to say hello to the guys at Kick and Push on Highway 7, Sharbot Lake area. Always need to get out and make sure that I know what's going on in all of the different breweries. In fact, part of the idea here is that we're going to get out to some of the breweries. We're going to have some of the people in from some of the great breweries around the area and let people know what's going on in the local craft beer scene. All part of the OSN brand. So looking forward to that. I got a lot of favorites. Tough to pick just one, but I don't have a lot of hats and I need more hats because I can't wear this hat all the time, right? So I'll take it off. Marlboro Man says, let's get the next one. We owe Tampa Bay a loss. Well, maybe. They're pretty good, though. Do you owe them a loss? Why would you owe them a loss? Once the game James Reimer started, pretty sure the Senators were their own demise that game. But the longer I stay on, because I thought I was wrapping up, the longer I stay on, the better it gets for Ottawa. 4-1 for the Rangers. 3 goals in the second period, and they're only 11 minutes into that second period. So New York putting it to Washington, and this might be the nail for the Capitals. So going to be very, very difficult for Washington to get there, I think, if they lose this one in regulation. So do they have a comeback in them? They are not playing like it right now. Glass is half full, Lee, not half empty. Well, I think one of the things when you make sure that you have something to drink here to refresh yourself is that when there's nobody else to pick up the slack, you literally just have to pause and basically be telling everyone, I'm just going to take a drink, so I'm going to stop talking. And then what happens? It's dead air, right? I can't sneak it in while somebody else is talking. But I hope everybody having a great Easter Sunday, 8 o'clock, some great family time. Appreciate the fact that some people are even in. Zach was on the pregame show and appreciated that very much. Nobody comments. So you comment on my hat, but you don't comment on my Boro Cop shirt. Feel like this is a pretty good shirt. Boro Cop in Vancouver. Making people accountable as he goes over and takes care of a robbery. Should have called me in, coach. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Cameron Crotty's been playing, right? Are you the Cameron Crotty of OSN, Marlboro man? Feels like it. It's like, you look down to Belleville. Who are you going to take in Belleville? Well, we've basically got everyone. No more defensemen to pick from down there. Yeah, Marlboro Band says, loved Boro, by the way. Same here. Way better person than a hockey player, and obviously great hockey player because played in the NHL for a long time. But even better person. Still lives over in Dunrobin, working for the Nashville Predators, and saw him a couple months ago. Doing really well. Love to hear that. All right. Well, the Rangers have stopped scoring every time I look. Devils still up 1-0 in Montreal against the Canadiens with 4:31 to go in the second period. Tuesday night, the Tampa Bay Lightning will be on about 45 minutes before the game on the pregame show. This is overtime as well. And lots to come. Hoping not only are we going to be doing some pregame and postgame, but we are going to endeavor to do some playoff watch-alongs, which is exciting, I think, for a lot of people. And what I mean by playoff watch-alongs, that you can just turn us on. We're going to be on while the games are going on in the playoffs. I think we're going to have some special guests come by the studio here, the Palatial Estates, beautiful Ashton, Ontario. We're going to have some TVs around the studio. We're going to change up the studio here a little bit and kind of react like we're all reacting and just sort of tell some stories and watch some playoff games. And hopefully you have us on in the background. That's the next endeavor for OSN coming up in the playoffs, but a lot to do as we go. So thank you for everybody listening, and the Ottawa Senators. Maybe tonight's the night that they, I don't want to say cement themselves because they're not cemented, but feels a lot more like they're in control of what they're doing now. 90 points. They sit in the second wild card spot. They are one up on the New York Islanders, but they have 5 games left. The Islanders only have 4. They do play the Islanders next Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Detroit, 2 back, 88. Columbus, 2 back at 88. They have the same amount of games played. And again, Tuesday night, Detroit versus Columbus. So one of those two teams is going to get 2 points. Can Ottawa just kind of stay ahead? Hopefully that game ends in regulation. And if Ottawa wins their game against Tampa, basically the team who loses that game, almost done. Almost done. So that'll be huge. And if Washington loses tonight, they're only going to have 4 games to go. They're only going to be able to get to 95, even if they run the table. And that might not even get them in at this point. So their backs against the wall, down 4-1 halfway through that game in New York against the Rangers. But Ottawa back in action Tuesday night. And then Thursday night, they're at home all week, Tampa and Florida, before going to play New Jersey and the Islanders coming up on Saturday and Sunday. We appreciate you being with us here on Easter Sunday on OSN, and we'll be back on Tuesday. Thanks very much. This has been Overtime on OSN.